All right, you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, I got an intro.
Okay, sweet.
Spoiler alert! Here is this week's show with Sweets and Slaney.
There, are we recording now? Good Lord. Rocky start.
Well, we're back.
And we're back. And we've already used all our best material. It's all gone.
Well, let's try to do note for note, cut for cut what we just said.
That whole fun riff we had about practical effects? Mm-hmm. All right, well, the audience has no idea. What we were starting to explain is that this week's podcast is only different in that rather than reviewing two new TV shows, we're going to discuss classic films.
Yes.
Each one is a movie one of us hasn't seen and the other has and knows well.
And we're recording in Technicolor.
That's right. In living color.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
And keep going.
Does whatever a spider can.
Yeah. What's next?
Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out. Here comes a Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud. He's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead.
I like how they're posing all these questions. Can he swing from a thread? Just take a look overhead.
Well, yeah.
He's right there.
Why do
Actually,
you-
literally take a look
Oh,
overhead.
there he is. Why do you need me to answer? Take a look overhead.
Yeah.
Hey, there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of the night at the scene of the crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward. To him, life is a great big hang up.
Spud?
Wherever there's a bang up. Is it bang up?
I don't know. I couldn't believe you were able to recite the whole thing.
We'll find the Spider-Man.
What Spider-Man in the future do you think they'll use the full song? Because they haven't yet, have they?
Did you see is it Spider-Verse? Into the Spider-Verse?
Mm-hmm.
There was some kind of theme song reference in that, wasn't there?
Probably.
It was so self-referential, I think that they couldn't pass up that opportunity.
Right.
Spider-Man Far From Home comes out really soon.
Yeah, it does. Are you excited for it?
Yes, of course.
I
Are you not?
I think it'll be good.
Okay.
I like the first one.
You mean back in
the
2001?
most recent one. I like that guy, Tobey Maguire.
I like when Steve Ditko created him back in 1963.
Right. That was the one
Yeah.
that I liked. The first one was the cartoon one
Yeah.
with the Green Goblin.
No, I think Tom Holland's excellent. I think it's going to be fire.
It's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
Good. How many movies do you think they'll do? They'll do 3.
Well, remarkably, this is his 5th time playing Spider-Man already.
Oh, because of...
he had this tiny little show up in Civil War, then Endgame. He was, I think, pretty prominently in Infinity War.
Yep.
And, of course, he had his own Spider-Man movie.
Right. Yeah, you nailed it.
What are you eating?
My sugar was running low. I went to IKEA. I took more insulin before going into IKEA, and it's classic that my sugar's always going to go low.
In IKEA?
IKEA.
Right, okay.
Anyway, give me 10 seconds.
Okay. All right. This is like bang up content
Compelling video.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
We didn't light it properly. I used a GoPro. We have one shot. This is not Rogan, baby. This is crude.
That's right. We're doing this for continuity purposes, so people know
We're only doing this because we're
that
talking.
we don't edit.
We're talking about movies, so I thought let's make a movie.
Oh, okay. Well, we need a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Oh.
And I think that should have started by us like walking and fighting. And
Except
then,
one of the movies we're discussing is Tarantino, so fuck a 3-act structure.
right. What we actually need is a middle, an end, and an end, and then a beginning, and then a middle.
Right, and a lot of masturbatory camera stuff. A lot of like really
Totally.
self-appreciation.
But we can't have any of the language.
No, none of the language.
Definitely a few words that cannot be used on this podcast.
Thoughts. I have thoughts.
I'm sure you do. You couldn't. Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
How's your week going? Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's good.
Got your Vampire Weekend t-shirt on? You must be good.
I do. Feeling good. Well, I actually just had to switch out of a sweatshirt I was wearing before, and I was wearing a shirt that was the same color as these pants, so it was going to look like I was wearing a unisuit.
Yeah, you look like a fool.
Exactly.
Right.
And I actually forgot that this was being recorded.
No, I
would have been
figured.
even weirder.
You know what I got? Becky got me a Raptors hat,
Okay.
which is a little It's a complicated thing because what this says for sure is I am not going to get out while the getting's good, a one-season fair weather fan who saw the highest high and then retired as a sports fan.
Right.
This says I'm going to sink my heels in. I'm going to follow this team. I'm going to love this because it was
because
a rich
Becky
experience.
got you a hat?
No, I wanted to do it anyway. We
okay.
said, look, let's buy $40 hats. Let's
okay.
put our money where our mouths are.
Did you get like championship hats?
No, they're just like, mine's like a classic purple hat. It's a little bold for Old Colin Sweets.
Yeah.
It's bright purple.
So it's like classic Raps colors.
Well, and much like how I knew nothing about the culture of basketball a month ago, I know nothing about the culture of wearing a hat.
That's your fingers on the pulse of of fashion.
Do you know what I mean, though? It's not just any hat. It's quite a firm dome.
Yeah.
It's quite...
Is it like a flat brim?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm not to curve the brim.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see this hat.
It's a snapback.
You should have went like dad hat snapback.
Well, they don't really have like baseball hats for basketball teams, as it turns out.
Yeah, well, flat brims are also snapback flat brims.
Yeah.
So
I can wear a baseball hat backwards, by the way. It kind of looks better on me backwards.
Sure.
And I'm fine with that. So you don't curve the brim. Do you leave the shiny sticker on the brim?
No, take that off.
Okay, good.
Don't be a fool.
All right. No, I don't. I'm glad to. I just don't want to take it off and have somebody like, what did you do?
Whoa, you took off the 7 3/4
Yeah.
sticker?
Didn't you ever tear a TY tag off and then get flack from your classmates?
Sure. Yes, but much like, how you're an adult now and could tear off a TY sticker, you can also go ahead and take that sticker off your hat.
Some things stay with you.
Yeah, you're right. But no, I'll have to see.
Don't
this
give me a hard
afterwards.
time. I'm already self-conscious and I like this team and I like this hat, but I don't want to be made to feel like I shouldn't have the hat on.
No, you have the hat on.
Okay.
Wear the hat, man. It's great. I want to see it.
All right.
I want you to.
I don't know if I buy this. I think this is insincere.
No, this is very sincere.
Yeah.
What would I have to say?
I don't know. You get this smug grin.
No, it's just because of where it started on the. I don't know if I need to take the sticker off. I can't bend the brim.
I'm saying this to you because I thought you could help, and it turns out you can.
I can.
But I want you to strip away all this attitude.
You think I'm attitude free, bub?
Genuine questions so that I won't look silly.
Okay. Question the first.
Okay.
Can you wear the sticker? No, you can't.
Okay, great.
Question the second. Can you bend the brim? Probably mildly.
Yeah.
Like you could do a mild.
The thing
curve
is,
if you want.
it's got such a bone structure. This hat,
right. That
like
bending the curve kind of affects the structure.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I got a Seattle Mariners snapback baseball hat, and no, I did not bend the brim at all.
Okay. You wear it exclusively backwards.
I wear pretty much backwards.
I can picture you in a backwards baseball hat.
And sometimes if I wear it forwards, then I just like kind of wear it like down above the eyebrows.
See, the only hats I'm used to wearing are toques because this is Canada, and also like the flat caps, like the hats that, what's weird about those hats? I wear those in public, and middle-aged men constantly tell me they wish they could pull off hats like that.
The newsboy hat.
Yeah, it's something about specifically middle-aged men. They'll say, "I like your hat. I wish I could pull off hats like that." And it's ridiculous. Those hats are designed to look good on dorky-looking people. They're made to look good on everyone.
Especially a middle-aged guy.
Absolutely. Especially a balding guy. That's what they're for. So you're
Right.
not wearing your silly J's hat anymore. Yeah. You're a grown man. You don't have hair anymore. Wear
Right.
this slightly more stylish cap. It looks good on everyone.
They're like,
Just
I wish
have the confidence to slap it on.
They're like, I wish I could pull that hat off, and then they put on the purple Raptors cap with the sticker on the top.
Well, they have the sticker on it. That's their first mistake.
Yeah.
What a noob. Now I realize I went for a walk last night with the hat on, and I had the sticker on it.
I think Jen saw you walking.
Did she say anything about the awful sticker?
It was all she was talking about. No, she didn't mention anything about you wearing a hat. So maybe it was a different time.
So maybe I was really pulling off the hat.
I think you were really pulling off the hat.
Really natural. It didn't stand out. It wasn't like, who are you trying to be?
Yeah.
This is
She was like,
confidence-inspiring.
I saw Becky and Sweets. They look great. It was along those lines.
Sweets looked like somebody who watches sports and has always.
Sweets look really sporty.
He looked really confident in his sports convictions.
Yeah. Big Raps fan.
Yeah, big time.
Next Drake.
What does Drake do now? Does he like go on tour? Does he like?
He released like 2 songs because they won the championship.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
How was he involved in the parade at all?
I don't know if he was. Yeah, I think he probably was. I know he took them to Vegas. We were talking about that.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, that's it. He's got a ring.
And Bill Simmons was saying that Kawhi might go to the Clippers.
That was like the consensus spot for him before
the
they
championship, before they won, and that does change things.
And that changes things.
Yeah,
it definitely shakes things up.
He bought stuff at Home Depot, man.
He bought stuff at Home Depot?
Yeah, he was photographed at Home Depot, like walking out with like tons of stuff, and everyone in Ontario took that to mean like, oh, he's got a place.
He's at Home Depot. The only way it could be more Ontario is if he was at like Home Hardware.
Yes,
like a distinctly Canadian like brand.
Right. Stops at Corner Gas on the way home because it's not a real place.
He gets called a jackass.
Right. Actually, Brent Budd is going to be on WTF tomorrow.
Whoa.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's deep.
It's interesting. It's like worlds collide.
Do you think that will be the least listened to Mark Maron podcast?
I don't know. I don't get a sense of whether or not, because like every now and then he'll have on a comedian who is just a comics comic.
Right.
And these guys probably cross paths at JFL or whatever.
You're right. He might be like, so we know each other, right? From like 97, the tours in the Midwest.
Right.
Like, I think that's
well, and something American comics, especially interviewer American comics, do to try and relate to Canadian comics. When they talk about the road, they'll be like, yuck yucks, right? So yuck yucks?
Was it the yuck yucks circuit?
Is it a yuck yucks?
Yeah.
Because they know yuck yucks is everywhere.
You traveled yuck yucks.
Yeah. Do you ever go to yuck yucks?
Just the Halifax one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's very expensive.
It is. Is it still open?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I think they sell out. I think they do quite well for their hotel guests. It's good to be in a hotel.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Can you imagine being in a hotel that just happens to have a yuck yucks? Just head down to yuck yucks.
Yeah, but you have to have a reservation. You have to have a reservation, and it's like $30. You're gonna spend more money.
It's too much.
Yeah,
I'm buying the flat brim.
Right. Yeah, the hat was $40, but that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I haven't been there in a while, but I am interested in seeing Brent Butt. Is he working on something right now?
Yeah, the animated Corner Gas is out.
You think that's what Mark Maron's going to be talking about?
Definitely, it's what he's promoting. I think maybe Corner Gas has a little bit of a la Schitt's Creek. I think it has a little bit of coverage in the States.
I would say very like
or Letterkenny. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, maybe.
Especially since Corner Gas is a big old lampoon of Canadian culture. Like it would just further, like we find it funny, but it just further solidifies the stereotypes of Canada so that Americans actually can digest it.
Right.
I see how it works on both levels.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we need to be at all concerned about the early reviews for Yesterday being quite poor?
Oh,
what does this mean?
I already told you my potential spoiler. Like, how does the movie not end with him waking up from the coma?
That it is very hard to imagine, because the only other thing is he gets found out as a fraud and then he goes to jail and is cancel cultured.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I don't like about the promotion for this movie? All the press describes it as he's the only one who remembers the Beatles. This is always how he's the only one who remembers. No.
The Beatles don't exist.
That's right. Is he the only one who remembers the Beatles, or is he the only one who knows the Beatles as an entity?
From a dimension where they were popular.
Right. Because if just everyone has amnesia, I'm already bored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. You learn through the movie, there's other things they don't remember. Like, you're just slowly picking up. He's like, oh, I need a fork and knife. What's a knife?
Well, I can look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
He's the Beatles, but he's also the inventor of the knife.
I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't be floored if that turned out to be the twist. Because how else are they going to justify that Ed Sheeran and Coldplay exist? We talked about this before, about how if the Beatles don't exist, culture itself is different.
Right.
And this movie doesn't appear to imagine a world that has not been influenced by the Beatles. They've just cleanly lifted the Beatles out of culture. And it does kind of seem like that could be the twist. Like, oh, hang on, the Beatles always did exist, and now they remember.
But if we learned anything from Endgame, you actually you can't really change what's going to happen anyway. if you travel back to the past.
Well, these are the two eternal questions of the time travel narrative: the Terminator versus the Back to the Future.
Right. Will it actually change?
Right.
Terminator, I think the idea was it will, won't it?
No, Terminator was what happened is always what happened.
Right. No matter who you send back to try to kill someone.
Like John Connor exists because he went back to impregnate his...
Right.
Is that how it goes?
Something like that.
Is he his own father? Is that how it...
No.
No?
No, the person who was trying to
That'd
save...
be wild.
The person who was trying to save Sarah Connor, I think, ended up impregnating her with John Connor.
Right.
Which, yeah, that's kind of a mind trip.
Right, but Back to the Future is all about going back and making sure this thing doesn't happen.
Right. Well, wait, what are they trying to prevent in Back to the Future again?
Well, Marty's first trip back into the 50s is accidental. He's trying to escape the Libyans, and the flux capacitor is already turned on. The time circuits are an example of the same evening that Doc Brown invented time travel.
Right. There's no project that he has until he fucks something up to create a project.
Minimally. His main project is to get back to the future.
Right.
Is to figure out how to generate 1.21 gigawatts of electricity in the flux capacitor in 1955. Right. That's his number.
You're flexing a little bit on the Back to the Future knowledge, which I appreciate.
If you don't know 1.21 gigawatts, why are we doing a podcast?
You're right.
What are we doing?
I'm sorry.
What are we doing here?
I do appreciate it.
You've seen Back to the Future.
I have.
God almighty. Can you imagine if I discovered now you've never seen Back to the Future?
Wait till we get to Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God. So that's his main objective, is to get back to the future.
Right.
But meanwhile, Doc has also been gunned down by the Libyans. And so Marty is also, as a side project, as a side hustle, trying to get Doc to be prepared for that night. Doc won't hear it. Right. And then in the end, we find out Doc decided, what the hell? I'll put on a bulletproof vest. And then the inciting action of Back to the Future Part 2 is to go forward to the future and prevent the robbery that creates a chain reaction which unravels the McFly family as we know it.
Right.
And so that one is about changing history, but history that is yet to happen.
Right.
And then Part 3 is again about getting back to the future.
Right. Going even further back.
Yeah.
I like Part 3.
But again, it's accidental. You go accidentally back to the past. I love Part 3. I think it gets a bad rap.
It was accidental?
Yeah, so at the end of Part 2, it's established that the time circuits are kind of jamming, and so after they get the sports almanac, the Gray's sports almanac back from Biff, they destroy it, and they're all ready to go home. Everything is status quo once again, but then Doc is flying the time machine in the same lightning storm that is useful in the first Back to the Future movie, gets struck by lightning accidentally and is sent back to 1885. And then Marty has to access 1950s Doc to go back and rescue him.
But doesn't Doc stay there?
Yes, he does. Because he falls in love with Mary Steenburgen.
Right. What a lovely story.
What a fable. What a story for the ages.
It's true.
So I don't know what's going to happen with Yesterday. Interestingly, there's apparently a graphic novel written by a guy named David Blott in 2011. It's called Yesterday, and it has a very similar premise. He's not suing. He's not alleging any kind of like wrongdoing. It's different enough. So basically, it takes place in the 60s, and the Beatles haven't quite happened yet. So he travels back to like 1963 or whatever, records all the Beatles songs, creates the biggest music sensation of all time, kind of pulls the rug out from underneath the Beatles before they can get to it.
Right.
But it's similar.
But he travels back in time?
It's a time travel story. So he goes back to just before the Beatles and cock blocks them.
Right.
Whereas in this case, it takes place present day and just the Beatles never happened for whatever reason.
That seems like so much more work than using the Gray Sports Almanac to create a fortune.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you still have to be pretty proficient, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to record this Beatles song.
That's right.
Unless you're a very talented musician. And still, there's...
Well, I guess Brian Wilson did that, right? He was a musical genius who definitely had a great singing voice and could play some piano, but he brought in, like, session people to make it sound how it sounded in his head.
Yes, but he wasn't stealing at any point.
No, of course not. But it was a lot of work.
Right.
Yes.
It was a lot of work.
No, you're right. The Gray Sports Almanac was a shortcut for sure.
Totally.
But that's how you get Donald Trump as president.
That's right.
So anyway, this David Blott uploaded his graphic novel for free on Twitter.
No way.
You can read his graphic novel.
Did you read it?
No, I haven't read it.
Okay.
I thought about doing that when I was bored at work today, and then I realized that's unethical. Do your job.
Do your job.
Be an adult. Speaking of Danny Boyle, who directed yesterday, which, by the way, I'm still going to see. It's got like a 64% of Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like a tragedy. It's not like... It was in the 20s, I'd be concerned. The thing about a Richard Curtis movie is that it's schmaltzy by definition. So when Love Actually came out, it probably didn't get amazing reviews either. And over time, we're like, oh, that's a lovely movie. But it's not a really scholarly movie.
Right. It's probably like a 78%.
Probably is. And so I can see how this movie's probably the same. It looks schmaltzy, and it's not getting such poor reviews that we have to be concerned.
Right.
But speaking of Danny
And
Boyle...
I would be concerned.
I would be so... Well, okay, you can joke, but you were pretty psyched about this movie.
I am psyched about it. You're right. I think the luster kind of wore off a bit for me after knowing about it for so long and seeing so many previews.
Right.
And then coming up with my ending.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I really hope it's not, and then he woke up.
I know.
That would be such a drag.
Yeah.
Did you know that there's also going to be a Springsteen one?
No.
So another in a long line of movies that celebrate the music of one particular artist or band,
Right.
named after one song from that artist's catalog. So
Thunder Road?
No, you'd never guess it. It's a weird one. We had
Badlands?
No, we had Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man, which are biographical.
Okay.
And then more along the fictitious side, we have Yesterday and Blinded by the Light, which I think we all know was written by Springsteen, but is made famous by Manfred Mann.
Right. Little weird.
And so it's based on a true story about like a Indian kid who I think lives in like the UK,
Okay.
struggling with identity, discovers the music of Bruce Springsteen, and it speaks to him on a whole nother level. And like, so it's a movie about Bruce Springsteen music and what it can do to you.
Right.
But I don't think there's a magical element.
Right. He's not, there's no supernatural him traveling back in time.
Right. And Miles Teller's not going to play Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
It's just, I think it's.
That was actually a good pull. Miles Teller playing Bruce Springsteen would be all right.
I could see that. I don't know if he has the raw sexual magnetism of Bruce Springsteen.
Sure. I mean, hey, who does?
Who does?
That's probably why they're making it from the view of someone else.
Skinny British Indian kid
just
instead.
able to watch. just able to watch.
Completely steer in the other direction.
Yeah, it's true.
So Danny Boyle directed Yesterday. I keep trying to get to this.
Sorry.
He has had lots to say about Bond 25 ever since he left that movie.
Okay.
And we've talked about how Bond 25 is cursed.
Mm-hmm.
He said, interestingly, that he thinks Robert Pattinson should play 007 in the next.
Man, he's Batman.
That's what's interesting is that Christian Bale was offered both jobs.
I was gonna say maybe Christian Bale plays him now.
Christian Bale. Oh, well, then we got older Batman again. He's probably older than Daniel
right.
Craig.
No way.
Christian Bale?
Yeah, definitely like 3 to 5 years younger.
3 to 5 years younger
That's
than
my
Daniel
guess.
Craig?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. We'll look it up.
We're going to the Google now.
There's no way he's that much younger.
Fact check it.
I think he's probably older, although he's such a chameleon, he can look like any age. Anyway,
It turns out he's 85.
way back, Christian Bale was offered both, like pre-Daniel Craig, the next James Bond, or Bruce Wayne, but you're not allowed to be both.
Right.
Do you
Couldn't
know
live
why?
up to Pierce Brosnan.
Do you know why?
I've
told you this before.
Wasn't there a clause that like Ian, what's his name, wrote that? Like
Ian Fleming?
Ian Fleming said like there can only be.
I don't know about Ian Fleming, but there is a rule within the broccoli production of James Bond movies that the actor currently sitting as James Bond is not allowed to wear a tuxedo in any other movies. And so
Allowed to wear a tuxedo. That's so like they should have made that a way more elaborate rule than just a tuxedo.
well, and like you can make a Batman movie without Bruce Wayne in a tuxedo, although it does kind of seem like a standard.
yeah.
What did you say? Daniel Craig is 6 years older than Christian Bale.
I said 3 to 5.
Yeah, but like that's really startles me. I thought he'd be older than Daniel Craig. Man, I'm wrong about everything.
We could have waited for Jade to explain it, but
We don't have time.
do we have a Jade this week?
No, we don't have a Jade this week. I guess we were perfect last time.
Man, first time.
The
No
thing-
mistakes this week.
The thing about Robert Pattinson is I love it. I love him as Bruce Wayne. I kind of love him as 007, and I am usually of the no get a stranger mind.
Right.
But I kind of like him as both. I don't want to see him do both, but one or the other is fine with me.
Sure.
And it's going to be Batman, that's confirmed. So it's a moot point.
Hey, hot take. Who plays 007 this time? Elton John. I was going to say Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
But then Taron Egerton played Elton John.
Right.
Elton John was in Kingsman.
Yep.
I think that's a natural transition.
And Rami Malek, Freddie Mercury, is playing the villain in Bond 25.
Right.
Worlds
or they
collide.
could move him into the hero role. He's Bond.
Okay.
And Taron Egerton, villain.
Okay. Blofeld.
Blofeld?
That's the iconic James Bond villain. Like Dr. Evil is like the look of Dr. Evil is a
Right, okay.
is a shtick on Blofeld.
Is it Blofeld or like Dr. No?
Nope.
Okay, gotcha.
Can't help you with that.
My bad.
Yeah.
I watched Dr. No. Isn't he dressed kind of like maybe Dr. No is Blofeld?
I don't know. See, this is something
Blofeld
Jade can
is
help us
Dr.
with because
No.
I happen to know Jade's seen them all.
Jade, fact check us.
We're going to need a little James Bond history from you.
Show us the way on the show.
That's right. Toy Story 4. I saw Toy Story 4.
I'm so excited. I know where this is going,
Well,
and you're about to drop some flames on us.
no, but the thing is, I don't want to spoil Toy Story 4 on the podcast because still a lot of people haven't seen
Sure.
it yet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything that happens in it that could be deemed a spoiler.
So to recap, you watched the first 3 Toy Stories
In 24 hours.
in 24 hours.
Yeah.
You love the franchise.
I do, yeah.
You openly wept
Oh, yeah.
during all 3.
No, well, no, not part 2.
Okay.
You know what's funny? Like, I wept in the part of part 3 that made everyone weep
Sure.
when he's giving the toys away. But it's gotten to the point now where the song You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman, which is goofy,
Right.
makes me cry.
Right.
I don't know why that is.
Sure.
That song makes
Brings
me
you
cry.
back.
And I got a little misty at one point in part 4. Like early on, there's a really good, like felt like classic Toy Story sequence. First and foremost, when you're first told that they're going to make a Toy Story 4, you're very nervous about that. The same way you were when you first heard they were going to make a Toy Story 3. We're just bringing more opportunities for you to screw up this already perfect thing.
Right.
Remarkably, you have a perfect trilogy with 1, 2, and 3.
You were excited for 4. You were obviously rooting for it.
Yeah, I was cautiously
I was
optimistic.
thinking you were going to come in and go, buddy,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yep. Yeah. And like technically speaking, they did a good job. They know how to use the software.
Yep.
But there is just, it's very hard to talk about it like without spoiling the ending, but there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the thesis of Toy Story. They break the rules of Toy Story.
Wow.
And I don't see, a lot of people are kind of defending that by saying, well, that's what makes it a good final chapter. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do that. It breaks the rules.
Oh, I think I know. I think I already know what you're talking about.
Okay, you can take a guess, and I'll be stone cold.
I'm thinking they end up going completely independent and they don't have an owner at the end.
Okay. Well, it's very hard for me to respond to
Sure.
it. We know that it's a love story, right? We know that it's supposed to like focus on Woody and Bo Peep. I find that kind of charming, but it's a really significant part of the story, and I don't feel like Bo Peep is a really considerable character in this story. I think the main love story is Woody and Andy, and so I was okay with like the moving on from Andy, but that's also why I think part 3 was the best final chapter,
Right.
and so I was really okay with it. I was enjoying it pretty much up until the last 10 minutes.
No
and then,
way.
and
Wow.
Then it's not like,
Wasn't flawless.
no, it wasn't flawless, but I was at peace with it until the last 10 minutes. And then one of the characters says something and you realize what's going to happen.
Oh no.
And I was just like, what? And I just kind of sat there speechless. I didn't even really know how to articulate my frustration.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
know what?
How was the drive home?
Oh, it was just a rant.
How did Becky do with that?
She agrees with me.
She was on Team Sweets on that
Or so she says. She's just so supportive.
one. Sure.
I don't think she's quite as passionate as me. And this is the thing I have to remember sometimes. I was telling my other friends about this the other night, And one of them said, okay, but I don't think I know anyone who loves Toy Story as much as you do. And that was that was kind of telling for me, because I think my arrogant self sometimes forgets that not everyone shares the same passions or convictions as me.
Right. You're more protective about that. It'd be like if they made another Back to the Future. As much as you might want to see another Back to the Future, that you would have so many, you'd be nitpicking at it. Although you'd want to cheer for it. You're going to be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. The flux capacitor, it's not 1.21 gigawatts. It's this, and everything else doesn't make sense anymore.
I wrote a Back to the Future 4 just as like an exercise.
Exactly. So you would definitely disagree with some of the choices that they might make.
Well, and I wrote it safely knowing that that the Bobs, Zemeckis and Gale, have like a clause in their will that says you're not allowed to make a part 4. Like they're the last remaining integrities within Hollywood, I think. Because certainly someone has said, are you sure we can't squeeze another thing out
Wouldn't
of
it
there?
be great if you made like an animated fan fiction version?
They have a graphic novel series, which I think is great.
Yeah. Nice.
I think it's great.
Very cool. And you've actually read them.
I got a couple of them around here somewhere. They're okay.
Neat.
They're okay. And there's a video game, which I think was pretty popular.
Okay.
You can expand it, but like much like Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 are flawless. There's no fat on those movies. And so just keep it.
Sure. Yeah. Nothing to make better.
That's right.
So out of 10, where are you with Toy Story 4?
It's like a 3.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Man.
It's a destructive mistake. It is.
This is the Chernobyl of Pixar sequels.
It is.
Yikes.
Yeah. You know what? It's so bad that I want a 5th.
To right the wrongs of the 4th.
You know what I mean? Like it's, I didn't want a 4th, but I was willing to accept and welcome a 4th. I was cautiously optimistic about a 4th. But like these movies are so good, you're nervous about sequels.
Maybe this is why Rashida Jones really walked away.
Maybe it is. It wasn't about the
Lassiter.
the wrongdoings of Lassiter.
No. Whoa.
It's maybe a 3. Like it ruined my night. I was like really upset, which is so silly.
Now I want to watch it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
To just go and see what you didn't like about it.
Yeah. Well, and much like how I oversell things when I'm like, you haven't seen When Harry Met Sally? It's the best movie of all time.
Right.
I have a tendency to do that. I can go the other way too. You're going to see it and go, get over yourself. It's not that bad.
I'm going to see it and go, that was actually pretty good. I was probably like a 7.5 on the Slanometer.
Yeah.
But barely a 3 on the Sweetsometer.
One thing I can say that doesn't really spoil anything is that we do not get enough of the classic gang. Like this is a really Woody focused story, and Woody's everyone's favorite, so that's fine. But like Rex and Slink and the Potato Heads, granted Don Rickles is dead, and so they just kind of had to like scrape some voices out from other things he's done.
Peel.
What's that?
Peel probably is the word you were looking for rather than scrape.
Yeah, I like it. Very good. It was that we didn't get a lot of those guys. Even Buzz feels like a secondary character in this movie.
Okay.
And that's a mistake.
That's
also
wrong.
Yeah.
What's the girl's name? Not Woody, but
Jessie?
Jessie.
Secondary. At best.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to see how much of a focus did they have on the Key and Peele characters?
Significant.
Oh,
way more prominent than Rex and Slink and the Potato Heads.
Way more prominent than they should be, because
they're fine.
I've noticed them in trailers.
They were funny. I will say they're probably my favorite part.
Okay,
and I like Forky.
And you like, was it Forky or Sporky?
He's a spork, but they named him Forky.
Okay,
I thought Forky was good. Tony Hale voiced him. I thought the character was funny. It's not my problem. That's not the issue I take at all.
Okay, all right. And you like his character arc.
Forky?
Yeah.
Well, Forky is there to illustrate that the purpose of this movie is finding your purpose in life.
Right.
Is like knowing what you're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's garbage who becomes a toy.
Right.
And so he has to learn that your role, now that you have sentience, is to make kids happy.
Right.
And so there's where I begin to struggle with how they ultimately make this film.
Right.
Because I like that as a thesis, as long as you play by your own rules.
Right.
We got to move off the topic.
It's so close to
emotional.
it's so close to Westworld, isn't it?
Maybe.
Like as soon as they stick eyes on someone, they're sentient. They
Yes.
have their own feelings.
Yeah.
But also that can mess with someone.
Well, and I think because like Bonnie makes Forky in class, like as a school project,
right.
and because she plays with him, like the love of a child has brought him to life.
Right.
I don't think just anything with googly eyes is like a sentient thing in Toy Story.
I kind of wonder if I should just get the spoiler from you after the show.
No, watch the movie.
Yeah. I saw the first two in theaters, but third I watched on Jen's bed.
Steamy.
All right.
The Office is leaving Netflix in 2021.
It is. Officially.
Finally happening. Like 6 months of discussing whether or not it's going to stick around. And it's not. But like a lot of time before it leaves. And lots of people are tweeting, well, then that's when I cancel my Netflix. First of all, Netflix is not kicking off The Office.
You're the only person making plans for 2021.
It's not up to The Office. The Office, or no, it's not up to Netflix. They want to keep The Office. But NBC is launching its own NBC streaming service.
Sure.
And I think I'm going to have to put my foot down at, excuse me, my God, subscribing to network-owned streaming services. Because that is a very regressive approach to the streaming.
Right. You're right. The streaming movement.
Yeah.
The streaming river.
CBS has had one for a while.
Yeah.
So NBC wants to jump aboard,
access.
and they're gonna drag back all their content. Friends too. It sucks for Netflix.
Ooh, that's big.
Yeah.
Netflix is trying to make some OC right now.
Yeah.
Not sure how that's going to work. Not sure if I like the future of the streaming generation right now.
I know. You're just inviting people to download stuff for free again.
Yeah.
Like we were talking the other day about how it's remarkable that Spotify and Apple Music figured out how to stop the desolation of the music industry. Like 10 years ago, the music industry was on its back with its feet in the air. Like it was done for because it was so easy to steal music. And then they just figured out a way to make legal music acquisition even easier than stealing it.
And still kind of screw the artists.
Yeah, still a little bit. Actually, there was a thing in the news this week about how Spotify realized they overpaid artists and they sent out a memo asking for some money back.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That had to hurt.
Can they actually get the money back?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe they can sue for it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people to sue.
Right. So anyway, it's kind of like that with TV. It's like, it's right now, if you subscribe to a couple of these, not all of them, but a couple of them, you can see most things.
Yeah.
Like if you got Netflix and Crave,
it's a lot of ground covered.
Yeah, especially if you got Amazon Prime because you're a student and that costs nothing when you're a student.
Right.
You got a lot of ground covered. Why would you bother torrenting stuff?
Yeah. You're right. Does make sense.
Right, but like if every little thing is on every
other network, then you're just paying for every other network like you're doing right now with cable.
You just have cable again.
Yeah. It's a vicious circle.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's a bummer. But if you were only on Netflix to watch The Office, you kind of don't get what Netflix is.
Sure.
Get the DVDs.
Yeah.
Or download them.
Just download them.
Just rip them off.
Come on, man.
You paid.
Yeah.
You paid
exactly. If you paid for the DVDs
Right.
and like they're streaming on a certain other platform, I feel like you earned it at this point.
Anthony Jeselnik has a new talk show.
Okay.
Which I don't know. Is that the right forum for him? He hasn't really been able to find his
We
thing.
loved his talk show.
Oh, the Jeselnik Offensive.
Yes.
It's like a variety show. Was it a talk show? I guess it was.
He had a panel. He did a monologue. He had a panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a stunt, like some kind of like desk bit or street bit.
Right.
I loved it. I didn't like his new stand-up special as much as his last one.
Okay.
I think he's good. I don't know if he's like got a really great book in him or like a really great role in him, but he hasn't been able to find the thing that made him like a huge star yet.
Right.
He's quite well known, but like he's struggled a little bit. So Comedy Central ordered 6 episodes of his new series, Good Talk with Anthony Jeselnik, which is a good title. I guess we'll see.
It might just be like the David Letterman thing, but shorter.
You mean just like kind of irreverent?
Just bringing one person on and talking with them.
Maybe. Oh, yeah.
Good talk. I don't know.
Have you watched any of the new season of Letterman?
No, not yet. Is it good?
I mean, you should watch the Kanye one.
I want to watch the Kanye one.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I have any interest in watching at all.
It's otherwise kind of a dull season. Like Tiffany Haddish has an interesting story.
Okay.
Ellen, we know how I feel about Ellen. Melinda Gates, like, I'm not drawn to that.
No.
I know she does wonderful things,
Yeah.
but like, I'm not drawn to that.
Yeah. I mean, if Bill was busy,
Yeah.
he's Letterman.
Eddie Murphy's going to be on the new season of Comedians in Cars. Comes out next month.
That'll be good.
That's a good one, but you haven't watched that in years.
No, I went back and watched a shit ton. So I'm pretty much caught up.
You must have enjoyed that because there's lots of good guests you've missed out on.
It was great.
Yeah.
I watched at least like the last 2 seasons.
Right.
I don't think I missed a whole lot before that.
I don't know anything about what this could mean because I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but yesterday at the same time, Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston both tweeted out the same black and white photo of a donkey. No caption. They just both took the same kind of artsy photo of a donkey and tweeted it. And presumably this has got to be some reference to the Breaking Bad movie, which we've heard about before.
Yeah. Or do you think it has something to do with the Democratic election? Because that's the
debates are on tonight, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with like the Democratic, the symbol being a donkey?
I guess, but
donkey and then
it's clearly
elephant?
like rife with mystery and they're not answering questions about it and they both did it
at the same time.
How could it not be, at least, even if it is got a political undertone, it's got to also have a Breaking Bad undertone.
It should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Was there a donkey in any season of Breaking Bad?
I don't know. I was hoping you could shed some light on that.
No, I don't know. Unless, does it have any...
But it takes place in Albuquerque, right? So there's donkeys there.
There's no conclusion that anyone has drawn?
I haven't dug into it too deeply, but I feel like after 24 hours, the headlines would at least be able to surmise, because there's a donkey in season 5, and this must mean that they're going to...
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or I was wondering, like, did the anniversary fall on, like, a special episode that was called The Donkey or
maybe
something?
I mean, don't forget, not a lot gets said about this, but Vince Gilligan wrote a movie about Jesse post the death of Walter White. So, like, they're doing a movie where he's coming back to play Jesse Pinkman again, and presumably that's your chance to do a flashback or something and get Bryan Cranston in there, because, like, they've been talking for I don't know how long about doing an arc with these two on Better Call Saul, and that hasn't happened.
Right. I don't know. Do you think it'll be just Walter White teaching Jesse Pinkman and putting up with his bullshit in, like, chemistry class?
Maybe, because he's already an ex-student at the beginning of the series, right?
Like, he's like, Pinkman?
But then we're going to have...
who was the crappy student?
Are we going to have, like, 41-year-old Aaron Paul play a 16-year-old?
Mr. White! I don't care.
A la John Travolta. So many things to say about John Travolta.
Is there?
Well, yeah, in this Pulp Fiction discussion we're about to have.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Do you want to... Who goes first this week? Do you want to start with Harry and Sally or Pulp Fiction?
Oh, I'll start with Harry and Sally.
Okay.
I think it's probably a little easier. It's a little fresher in my mind.
How many days ago did you watch it?
2 days ago.
2 days ago. I'm going to put you on the...
Monday night. It's Wednesday night right
do
now.
Do we need longer than 30 seconds to recap a 2-hour movie?
Do we? Do I need that? I mean, regardless,
you know
the time you give me, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. So
it's true. The more time you have, the more struggle you have to be efficient.
Yeah.
Do you want 45 or 60 seconds? 30 is not enough.
You don't think 30 is enough?
No.
Okay, let's do 45.
45 seconds to recap the only episode of When Harry Met Sally.
Which was a movie.
Now I'll put you on the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
Harry gets into Sally's car at the beginning of the movie. They're driving from Chicago to New York. She's a friend of his girlfriend. They get to New York and hate each other. A couple years later, they see each other in the airport. He still doesn't like her. She doesn't like him, although he makes a lot of insinuations about them getting together. After that, they are both in emotional strife. They meet each other and actually become friends. They've both broken up with their partners, and he's going through a divorce. They continue to hang out. They're just friends. There's literally nothing between them until one night they actually have sex with each other. For a couple years, it's bad, and then eventually he falls for her. No. Sorry, I should say eventually he makes like a stand where he's like, I'm in love with you. We need to do this.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I thought it was pretty concise.
You did a phenomenal job. Better than you've ever done for a TV show.
Thank you. Maybe it shows that I like movies a lot.
I
give movies my undivided attention.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You paid a little bit closer attention. The only thing you left out, and granted there wasn't enough time for it, is that in their friendship, when they're thick as thieves, they try and reject each other's affection by setting each other up with their other best friends.
People. But everyone knows all along that this is...
Right, and ultimately those two friends fall in love. And
Which
so
is
they're
great.
they're just kind of surrounded by like soulmates.
And those two friends are Carrie Fisher and who?
And Bruno Kirby.
Bruno Kirby.
Both of them are dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We were watching this movie last night. Easily the third time Becky and I have watched this movie
I love
together.
that you guys watched it. I should have watched Pulp Fiction. I did not have time.
It's okay. It's almost a 3-hour movie, and like it's so easy to watch Harry and Sally, and we felt like watching it anyway.
Sure.
We've watched it together at least 3 times, maybe 4.
Okay.
And separately, I'm sure we've each watched it 10 times.
Okay.
And we're watching this scene in the bookstore with Carrie Fisher, who's stunning in this movie. She's so beautiful in this movie. And Becky says, "Has she been in anything recently?" And I was like, "Well, she's dead."
Yeah.
And
a casket.
And then I realized that's Princess Leia. And she's gonna hate that I'm telling people this because it's embarrassing for her.
Well, no, this is great because at the end of the movie, Jen went, "Carrie Fisher was in this movie?"
It's just the same.
And I was like, "Yes, she was the friend." She was like, "Oh, well, she didn't look like." I was like, "Well, yeah, Jen, she didn't have the buns.
The buns, the white gown."
But it was very much Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, it was.
That's good.
Okay, give me your initial thoughts about this movie. Did I oversell it? Does it live up to the hype of being, to many people, the quintessential romantic comedy of all time?
You know what? While I was watching it, I really liked it. And while I was watching it, I was thinking, they don't do this anymore. They don't slow roll a movie the whole time. They'll do like more of a conflict earlier on where they'll like break up. But this one, they were like, their friendship was getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Like they hate each other, then their friendship's getting stronger and stronger. And then at the very end, they have sex with each other and it kind of like plummets and then shoots back up.
Right.
I like that.
Well, the thing is, they had incredible chemistry immediately. Right. Like they did butt heads because they were so incredibly compatible.
Yeah.
Like, and they
got along really well with each other.
Even when they were like completely at odds and he's accusing her of never having had good sex and she's quite anal and he's too cynical for her and he's a know-it-all.
Well, he's such a playful cynic though. Like I've never it's rare to have a character who's so multifaceted. Like he is down to like play along and sing Oklahoma in a electronics store.
He's very silly.
Very silly. Yet at the same time, he's like, there can't be friendship between a man and a woman. Like, although it was different timelines.
I think he's just giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
I think he likes yanking her chain. He does get married. He's not as cynical as he pretends to be.
That's true.
But he does read the last page of every book.
And he's so sad. I love that scene where he actually just like, he's a couple pages in and just goes to the last.
And then she calls him and she says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I was just finishing a book."
Yeah, that was great.
And they're always like Ludlums or Stephen King's or the kind of books that a guy like this would be reading in 1984.
Right. I thought there was a lot of Seinfeld tones.
Oh, interesting.
And I think Seinfeld, even with the like orgasm faking.
Yep.
And some of the other things, like some of the, why do they call it this when it's more like that? Even the last scene where he says, like,
what is this song about? My whole life, I don't know what this song is about. Yeah. Becky and I say that to each other every New Year's.
That's such a Seinfeld thing.
Oh, sure it is. Absolutely. But it came first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, it came out in 89, right?
No, when Harry Met Sally is like 84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
See, I'm watching it last
fan.
night for the first time. I'm watching it through your eyes.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see, like, is this something? Because, like, you're not too proud to like romantic comedy.
No, not at all. I actually told Jen after the movie, I was like, you know what? That was really good. And she was like, you actually thought it was really good?
She didn't like it? Because she likes a romantic comedy.
She loves romantic comedies. Yeah. What did she say? She was like, there was a lot of dialogue. Like, it kind of reminded me of, like, Gilmore Girls.
See, that's what I thought you'd like about it.
That is what I like about it.
That's what I was really getting giddy about, having seen it so many times and watching it through your eyes. Like, this is such sharp dialogue.
Totally.
That Slaney's going to love this. And I find it ages extremely well.
Yeah.
Like, other than the shoulder pads,
Right.
the movie really is timeless.
And she likes Gilmore Girls too. So it was like, that's not what you liked about Gilmore Girls?
I mean, it's feelingsy, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's kind of not as feelingsy as a lot of romantic comedies.
Yeah,
he's
not
not like Matthew McConaughey. He's kind of like super Jewy. She's so cute, but
Yeah.
like, you see what I mean by like Emma Stone would play her now. It's not like, she's not like a bombshell.
Right.
She's bookish.
Totally. I more think like she had more of an Emma Watson vibe.
But Emma Watson's not funny.
She's not funny, but Meg Ryan was like more cute than funny.
Right, I know, but I don't find Emma Watson is gorgeous and elegant. I don't think of her as like, now we're guys talking about, now we're locker room talking.
Right. All right.
I think
Here we
in
go.
a mostly
Once
harmless
again.
way. I think this is mostly pretty tasteful, but I don't know.
You think she's a 3? Just say it.
I think she's better than Toy Story 4.
Right. Okay.
For
fair.
Christ's sake. Nobody says potato. I wrote that down. You say
Toy
tomato.
Story 3 was a 10. Toy Story 4 was a 3.
Harry Connick Jr. did all the music as a very young man.
Was that before he was super famous?
I think it must have been early in his career.
Yeah.
He must have been a young guy. But you say tomato, I say tomato. You say potato, I say potato. Nobody says potato.
Right.
All the little love story testimonials with the like older couples talking about how they got together are all real.
Oh, no way.
They're all real. They're performed by actors. Those are not real people.
Okay, I was going to say,
but
some of them were too perfect.
well, some of them are perfect, but the scripting is not written by Nora Ephron. The words are taken from real interviews, and they're just kind of jazzed up with professional actors.
Cool.
But like, there's a couple of them that I just die laughing at. Like,
Yeah.
A couple of the lines are, I thought he was coming across the room to talk to my friend Maxine, because people were always crossing rooms to talk to Maxine. I think that's a phenomenal line.
Right.
I knew right away. I knew about him the way you know about a good melon.
Yes.
It's a phenomenal line.
That's a good line.
And there's just another one where they're just constantly talking over each other.
That one I found kind of frustrating, but also
Sure.
very funny.
It's phenomenal.
But the one I really liked was the guy talking about walking across the room to like bail on the other girl,
Yeah.
and then they get married for like the second time,
Yeah.
and then it's 35 days from their first
35
marriage.
years.
Yeah, 35 years.
So
from
these
their
are
first marriage.
real stories.
That's crazy.
Real love stories, and obviously they had to pick and choose like the best ones, and it ends with Harry and Sally.
Can I jump back to the music for a second?
Sure.
I thought that the music was kind of cheesy, but I wonder if at the time it was maybe a little bit more revolutionary. Like, because I watched and was like, now the music would be better.
Well, it's not revolutionary to pick like jazz standards.
No, I don't think so either. But maybe that was the first movie that really kind of used those kind of stylings. But then you ended up hearing stuff like that in like Frasier and Will and Grace.
Well, and like not to toot his horn, but Woody Allen was putting jazz piano against the backdrop of Manhattan like
Sure.
20 years before.
so it
this
wasn't
movie.
anything super original there.
It wasn't, but it's got its own sonic autograph. This movie,
Sure.
like, there's really no other songs in it, like unless they actually exist in the fiber of the story.
I think
like Auld Lang Syne.
I think we could recut it with like 80s hits.
Sure, but then
And
the
it
movie
would
wouldn't age as well.
You don't think so?
No. Then it would feel like when you watch Pretty Woman, it's a charming movie. Never minding the fact that the story itself doesn't age well. Like the very premise of the story has got some stuff that's hard to stomach. But like Roxette, It Must Have Been Love, But It's Over Now
Right.
is a great power ballad, but it's so 80s.
But it brings you to a time.
But I think what's great about When Harry Met Sally is that
you
it
can
does
watch it
not.
and it's timeless.
I think it is endlessly timeless.
Right.
I think that the characters themselves, and I've seen this movie so many times, every time I watch it, I feel more like Harry. But I think that you watch it and you relate to one, if not both of these characters very deeply.
Yeah.
They're both pretty vulnerable people.
Yeah. I agree with that. I thought Albright was a little on the nose as a last name.
Her last name,
Yeah.
Sally Albright. And Harry Burns.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's very intelligent and he's kind of a curmudgeon.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I struggle a little bit with the timeline because you had said that they stopped being friends for a number of years, and that's not true.
No, it's more like
Weeks.
6 months. 3 months?
Not even.
Gotcha.
Because
3 weeks. That's what he says.
Most of
them 3 weeks ago.
Most of the movie, it appears like they've been like their friendship lasts for years. Like the bulk of the movie where they're really close. And if you pay attention to Sally's age, because there's a few different points in the movie where she says how old she is, it's actually most of the movie only takes place over 1 year. Because when she first tells her friends at brunch that she and Joe broke up, she says she's 31. And the clock isn't really ticking until you're 36.
Yeah.
And she later, towards the end of the movie, says she's 32.
Right.
So,
and I love how they played with that. And she goes, I'm going to be 40.
It's my favorite line in the movie. It's my favorite line. I'm going to be 40 when someday.
Yeah.
It's the best line in the movie. It's so good.
Because you're already like trying to follow the line. Okay, she's in her like 30s.
Well, and Harry ages a lot because they give him different hair and different clothes. He's also rich as fuck for some reason.
Well, they're all super affluent. We were talking about that too. Like, this is not a story about people struggling. It's just pure love. Like, they're fine in every other regard.
When they're playing Pictionary and he says to his friend, oh, you were going to show me the cover of your book. And his friend says, yeah, it's in the den. I was like, oh, that exchange is so pretentious.
Yeah.
I love it.
And he says something about how the den is, he's like, I love saying.
Yeah, that's right. Like, in the drawing room almost.
That scene was also really funny where it's like, yeah, no, baby
fish mouth
is like.
Do you know that you're referencing like the most iconic lines of the movie, or is that just a coincidence?
That's totally a coincidence.
Baby fish mouth is iconic.
I didn't even look up the most quotable IMDb things or anything.
Baby fish mouth is iconic. The only thing more iconic, the most iconic movie is I'll Have What She's Having.
Sure.
That's the thing everybody knows it for.
Right.
I actually hate that line. I think it's so silly.
Yeah.
It's not believable.
And that went on for so much longer than I thought it did.
I watched that movie when you and I shared a wall.
Yeah.
I'd come home at midnight after work and you'd be asleep, and I'd like put on a movie at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
You weren't having guests over. I just thought
I wasn't watching pornography, but like I remember in that scene, I remember being like, I gotta turn this down.
I gotta put headphones in.
Because that really gives her.
Yeah.
It really like, I wonder if people ever go to Cat's Diner. It's Cat's Diner, right?
Yep.
Do they go there and do the fake orgasm? That must happen.
I'm sure it happens. Yeah. I was saying last week, I've actually been there and I think had a sandwich or something.
Yeah. I mean, like it would require a person who needs to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
But in the last 40 years, surely somebody has fake orgasmed to Cat's Diner and gotten
it probably happens 3 times a day.
It probably happens all the goddamn time. And then somebody says, I'll have what she's having.
Right. They probably hire an actor to do that just all through it, like every 10 minutes.
So I was going to say about the timeline, my only nitpick is that Marie and Jess get married real fast. Because in that year, they meet, they move in together, the Roy Rogers Wagon Wheel coffee table, write your name in your books, get married, all like in that 1 year where Harry and Sally are best pals.
Right.
And so that kind of makes it seem like more time is happening than it is.
Gotcha. Is that important?
It's not.
It's just kind of fun to follow.
It's not, but like the nature of the movie being called When Harry Met Sally, which Nora Ephron hated. She never came up with a title that she was satisfied with. I loved the title because they meet in the first 45 seconds of the movie. They meet immediately, and then it fades to black, and you're like, is this the end of the movie? You're not actually like that, but like they meet immediately, and then what?
Right.
When Harry Met Sally, all this other stuff, and you see the story that's supposed to take place over a super long time.
Right.
No, most of it all takes place like in a pretty short amount of time.
And they're not telling the story of them meeting at the end, are they?
Well, they say we met, and then we didn't like each other, and and then we were friends, and then we weren't friends, and then we fell in love.
Right.
We had a cake
that should have been my surmising.
That's right. She wrapped it up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
How about that final monologue by Harry?
I like it.
Oh, I think it's so good.
Yeah.
I think it's so good. I came here tonight because when you decide you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
And again, it was one of those things. Yeah, exactly. That was great. Very concise.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, we're having the running scene to but that was probably, not as cliche then as it is now in every rom-com.
No, exactly. Yeah. There's also like a couple of weird, like artsy moments in it where like, the two phone calls happening on screen at the same time, where
Yeah.
they're both in bed and they're on different phone
Yes,
lines.
that's great.
That is an amazingly well verbally blocked scene.
And you're able to follow everything.
Yes, it's remarkably done.
My other favorite line in the movie was when she's describing the dream she's had. Is that another famous line, or is that just something
About her sex fantasy?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is someone ripping off her clothes, and she said, "Well, it varies sometimes." And he says, "How? What I'm wearing is different."
Yeah, what I'm wearing is different.
Yeah.
Following that, and they go to the art museum, and he's doing the silly voice.
Yes.
And she's like mocking the silly voice. There's one point where he goes off script, and famously,
I was gonna say, was that all improv? Because it kind of seemed like
it's
it could have
partially improv, and you know when he goes off script because famously, Meg Ryan turns to look at Rob Reiner. And you can see her right on camera. She's laughing and she turns to look, and I guess off camera, Rob is like waving, like, just go with it, just go. And then she kind of stays in it, and she gets right back in it, and it's great.
I bet there's so many more stories from Rob Reiner that I would appreciate now that I've seen the movie.
Rob Reiner's hot streak during this time was stupid.
So crazy.
Stupid. Between When Harry Met Sally, This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men.
Yeah,
like those movies have nothing in common.
No.
And they all happen within a couple years of each other.
Yeah, he was pretty prolific.
Yeah, he's awesome.
What's he doing now?
He made a movie with his son last year.
No way.
His son had some drug problems, I think. I could be wrong about
that. I think I remember this. And Rob Reiner's dad hangs out with Mel Brooks, and they famously just watch movies every night, and they try to watch movies that contain the line "Secure the perimeter."
Secure the perimeter. Yeah,
I love that.
That's
so funny.
That's their one rule.
And if they say that, they're like, "Yeah, secure the perimeter."
So, do you give it your S?
I give it my S.
Of course. Yeah. When Harry Met Sally, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right. So now I have the long task of recapping Pulp Fiction. Which is
so difficult.
It's not so linear, man.
So how long do you want? Do you want 1 minute? Do you want 45 seconds?
Can you give me 45 seconds?
Sure.
I think I can do it in 45 seconds. I mean, I definitely can't, but we'll give it a shot.
Well, you'll hit the main 5 bases.
Okay.
You'll be set. All right. And you're going to recap Pulp Fiction in 3, 2, 1, go.
Everybody in this story is connected to the same mob boss. Most prominently, we've got Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, who are hitmen who basically rub people out for this guy. So the initial scene is the start of a diner heist.
Rub people out.
There's also the story of Bruce Willis, who won a rigged fight that he wasn't supposed to win, so he's now on the run with his Italian girlfriend or whatever, but he has to go back to get his watch, and ultimately almost gets killed and raped, and then has to kill a bunch of other guys and clear his name. There's also Uma Thurman, who goes on a date with John Travolta, and that doesn't go well, and there's an adrenaline needle, and Samuel L. Jackson ultimately is able to talk the diner burglar Tim Roth out of robbing the diner. And it's impossible to recap this movie. There's nothing linear about this movie at all.
You're right. It is all over the place, and you don't really know who the hero of the story is.
No.
And who the villain is.
No.
I would say in the end, maybe Bruce Willis is the most hero-like.
He does the only heroic thing, I was going to say he goes back and rescues Ving Rhames, but he doesn't do that for any reason other than to clear his name.
He does it to clear his name.
Yeah.
You're totally right. And Jules is badass.
He is heroic.
He is heroic, I guess, because he doesn't want everyone else to get robbed.
His whole thing is about the path of the righteous man.
That's right.
But obviously it's pretty murky.
It's a little murky. I mean, he gets paid to kill people. He's going to take the money and kill whoever.
Right, but that's what makes it so interesting. It's such an interesting dichotomy that he's like a God-fearing person and he believes in miracles, and yet he's, I don't know, I guess it's just all about his interpretation about what is good and evil.
Really, the entire movie, I think, is just to highlight what sort of dialogue Quentin Tarantino could come up with for everything.
Totally.
Because it doesn't really matter what happens in the movie. It's more these interesting conversations that happen in between the action.
He's not hiding that. It's in the title. It's Pulp Fiction.
Right.
This movie doesn't matter. It's just another rag.
Yeah, true.
And so that's fine. Bruce Willis was awesome in this movie. I mean, everybody was awesome in this movie. Bruce Willis was probably the richest story.
Yep.
Interestingly, it's the last in the chronology. I almost want to watch this movie again because you don't even realize until like halfway through that you're not watching a chronological story.
Right.
I guess you realize when he shoots Jules, and then Jules comes back later. Not Jules, Vincent.
Right.
He shoots John Travolta, which was a big shocker, by the way.
Right.
Because at this point, Samuel L. Jackson has barely been in the film.
Yeah.
It's been over an hour since he's been in the film. And I'm under the impression most of this movie is Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, and they've barely been in it together.
Right.
And then this guy gets blown away.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But so that story, I guess, takes place at the end. It takes place after everything.
Yes.
You
get the whole Harvey Keitel line after that too.
Which is what?
Him as the wolf.
Oh, yeah,
like the
yeah.
fixer.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the storyline?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And by the way, Quentin Tarantino is a good actor, as it turns out.
Yeah.
But I think this movie's got to be why people get after him about the N-word in his movies.
Totally.
So like,
it doesn't age well.
no, it doesn't age well, and it's not that old of a movie.
And it wasn't great at the time either. Like,
I don't think.
People gave him a hard time about that.
So here's my POV. I know Quentin Tarantino can be problematic. I know that he very freely has written the N-word in movies before.
Yep.
But until Pulp Fiction, the only movies of his I've seen are Kill Bill, which I don't think has the N-word in it.
No, it doesn't.
And Django Unchained, which it makes sense that word is in there.
Sure.
For better or worse, like from my POV, okay,
part of the
he
story.
wrote that in a movie about slaves, like,
Right.
but in this, like, not only is it all through this movie, he himself
He
says it
writes
like 10
himself
times.
Sang a
And
monologue.
He says it so easily.
Yeah.
It just comes off his tongue so
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. I think it just maybe shows that he just doesn't necessarily think that words should have as much meaning. Although they do have so much meaning. That's the funny thing.
And
but
he's the guy who loves the friggin' monologues.
He's using it as a device.
He's the linguist of Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is not great, but I mean, the movie ages well. Besides,
I mean, the story is so good. You know how much of this movie either takes place in a restaurant or has a discussion about restaurants?
yes. Yep. And that's kind of on brand, like, especially with Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
The whole first scene in Reservoir Dogs is them having a discussion about Madonna's Like a Virgin and what that song is actually about before a bank robbery.
So the point is just like writing flashy, inane dialogue that's not necessarily
Yeah.
critical.
Totally.
Because the opening conversation in this is about Burger King and
Right. The Royale with cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
And then it's the Kahuna Burger, which, by the way, that scene was scary. That scene when he's holding the gun to his face,
It really makes your heart start pumping.
it is.
I remember my first time
genuinely
watching that too.
Scary, and that's so much of this movie. There's a lot of blood in this movie. There's really nothing in this movie that would make me pass out or feel sick.
Right.
There's really not. But there are so many times where you think there's going to be.
Right.
That I was very nervous
Totally.
through most of the movie.
Totally.
I mean,
Reservoir Dogs, very similar. You should watch that too.
okay, I will. I
gotta.
definitely will now.
You got to do the full recap.
But I think my favorite line in this movie was, and I don't know if it's his name Marvin or Martin in the back
Marvin,
seat. Marvin. Oh man, I shot Marvin in the
Shot
face.
Marvin in the face.
I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that was so bloody, but you don't see it.
No. Look at the big brain on Brad. That is one tasty beverage. Like, that whole scene has so many lines.
I mean, the final
That's,
diner scene is so amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And the opening diner scene.
Yeah, I
with
guess.
the I love you, honey bunches.
Yeah, Honey Bunny.
Honey bunny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she makes the, all right, everyone, get on the fucking
And
ground.
she keeps saying execute instead of kill.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Execute.
I'll execute everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so good.
And then the surf's up
Yeah.
kind of music. Yeah.
Can we talk about Ving Rhames and one of the more upsetting things I've ever seen in a movie?
Yeah.
I can't believe
With
they went there.
the Gimp?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the Gimp?
The Gimp is Zed.
Who is Zed?
So Zed's dead. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's
Okay.
dead. So that's the guy who ends up,
I'm talking about in the pawn shop, in the back room of the pawn shop.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, the Gimp. Yes.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
Gimp. The Gimp is the leather suit. dude.
Honestly, I forgot about the Gimp.
Yeah.
I forgot about the Gimp because
that's part of-
that's not the most crazy thing that happens in that scene.
Right.
Like the gimp just like kind of hangs. He's just tied to the ceiling.
Right.
Meanwhile, the security guy is raping Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
And they make us watch that.
Yeah. Right. I forgot. You know what? I haven't watched this movie in a while.
Yeah.
And for a guy who feels like he knows a lot about it, kind of forgot about that.
I mean, it's hilarious when Bruce Willis gets away and he comes out into the pawn shop and he realizes he can go back in and clear his name. And so he's just looking through all the different weapons they have.
Yeah.
And so there's a baseball bat. Oh, that could work. And then I'm nervous. And
Yeah.
then there's a chainsaw. That would really work. And now
Yeah.
I'm really nervous.
Right.
And then it's a fucking katana.
Yeah.
And he uses that
And that's what he goes
to
with.
kill them. Of all the pawn shops to wander into, by the way, this is the wrong one.
Any pawn shop in the world would have been fine.
What a bummer.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken in there.
Yeah, what a funny little, like, I remember watching that and being like, okay, we got Walken in this too?
Yeah. Well, it's like when Christopher Walken turns up in Annie Hall. It's
Yeah.
like suddenly weirdly in this movie for a second.
Yeah.
So he gives Butch the story about the watch, and that
Yeah.
is kind of Butch's main motivator. He's
Yeah.
very mean to his girlfriend, although not always. She's kind of dumb.
To Butch's girlfriend?
Butch's girlfriend's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
She just wants pancakes.
Right. I don't think you could write a character like that anymore, really.
What's
either.
with the whole thing about how potbellies are sexy? Do you remember
Okay.
that?
No, I'm
Her
I'm
whole
spacing on that one.
opening dialogue when he comes back to the apartment on the run from
Oh, yeah.
Marcellus is, I wish I had a potbelly. On men, they're gross, but they're so sexy on a woman. I was just like having a very hard time
Yeah,
relating to
you're
this.
right.
It's a very weird thing to choose to write.
She loves the way he stinks. I remember
Yes,
that
that's-
being a
that's
thing
a thing.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just gross.
We briefly see a little Bruce Willis shaft in this movie.
Do
He
you
comes
think
out of the shower.
Oh, you think it's real?
I mean, like they didn't put it on display like in the what's the movie PTA made with the about the porn stars? They didn't like
Oh, Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. They didn't show it off.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But speaking of Tarantino, they show some Jamie Foxx in Django Unchained?
Maybe they do.
I think they do.
Yeah, maybe they do.
In any case, he's no stranger to nudity either.
And then
What
the
do you
other-
think of Uma Thurman in this?
I was just gonna get to Uma Thurman. She's good.
A very iconic scene with the whole like twist.
The dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought more iconic is the meme where John Travolta comes to her house and he's got the coat over his arm and he's just kind of like awkwardly looking around.
Yeah, because he's
that's,
all like strung out.
that's been gifted like crazy.
And it's Son of a Preacher Man. Like here's a movie that uses music in an interesting way that
Sure.
doesn't necessarily age it.
That's true.
You know,
But, yeah.
it's got a vibe about it. But I guess it does kind of try to make it seem like a 70s kind of late 60s style movie.
Yeah, and the movie was made in 94, right?
94,
So they're not chronistic to the time period of the film itself.
no.
But they are carefully chosen.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Which kind of makes me wonder what kind of music he's going to choose for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, like
You know, Django Unchained, he used Rick Ross for a shootout scene.
that kind of works.
It does work.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if they're going to use like Nirvana in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, like when Jay-Z did the soundtrack for Baz Luhrmann's Great Gatsby.
That's right. Yeah. But that was a little too on the nose.
It was on the nose. It didn't work.
Yeah. I think he should stick. I'm calling it right now. Hopefully this ends up working out and I look like a genius. They should use only 90s grunge in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's so weird.
It would be so weird.
That would be so weird.
But every
Like Pearl Jam?
Sure. Deep cuts of Pearl Jam.
Yeah, okay.
I think that would be so weird that it would really intrigue me, and that's what intrigued me to Tarantino movies in the first place.
The music, really? That's your favorite thing about them?
No, just how strange they are.
They are so strange.
They are so strange.
Do you think he belongs, as Bill Simmons would say, on the Mount Rushmore of directors of all time?
I mean, yeah.
There's
like,
a legend about him that he has helped to cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
Is any of it hot air, or does he come by all of it honestly?
I mean, just as a fan, I'm going to say he does.
Yep.
But like, you know, he's the first to say that he's just a fan of the movies. He steals from everyone that he liked.
Yeah, no.
There's,
A good example of that is when they first kill the guy who's eating the Kahuna burger.
Yeah.
You don't see any blood, but the screen tints orange for a second.
Right.
And interestingly, the last movie that I was ashamed to have not had seen until a couple of months ago was Taxi Driver, and the whole final shootout
use that.
scene is orange.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it felt like to me.
And he's I would love to actually see the director's commentary with Quentin Tarantino, which I'm sure exists.
Oh, probably.
But yeah, he's the first to say, so this is my thing that I stole from this person, and
Right.
yeah.
Right. That's a pretty good impression.
Thanks.
Yeah. Not bad at all. The briefcase.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, the briefcase. That was another example of a cool,
The briefcase
cool
is-
mechanism. We don't know what's in it. It just looks like a gold briefcase.
Well, but is it gold or is
it whatever?
the gold just a joke about how desirable this
Right.
this X item is?
Yeah.
And that's kind of become Hollywood's essential example of what a MacGuffin is. It doesn't matter what it is itself, just that it drives the plot. Everybody wants this thing, so
Right.
who cares what it is? Why do we need to
Totally.
create a story for why it's important?
Totally. Yeah.
And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they only use it a couple of times. I kind of thought the briefcase was going to matter more.
No, like everything else in the movie, it's just kind of dialogue happening randomly
Yep.
across a bunch of different stories that sometimes culminate in intense action.
Yeah. Oh, intense action.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I've spent so much of my life afraid of Tarantino movies
Yeah.
because I'm so, gory queasy. And I've seen 3 pretty violent Tarantino movies now.
Mm-hmm.
And I like them all.
Yeah. Yeah. Reservoir Dogs it's kind of the same way. It works on your psychological, like, oh God, what's going to happen here? But even for the most gory part of the movie, it pans away for a second.
Oh, that's good.
It just, like, the camera literally is on what's happening and just turns slightly to the side on nothing.
See, but doesn't Tarantino have
And then
some kind
comes
of
back.
involvement in Grindhouse, which is distinctly does not turn away from the violence? Like, it shows you as gory as it can get.
You're right. I think he was having a little fun with that one.
Yeah.
It was Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. So
Right.
he did Death Proof,
Yeah.
which was the Kurt Russell, but it was so campy.
Yeah.
All of the death in that was so campy.
Right.
they
but
were
it's,
going-
but it shows you.
They were going straight up B movie. Yeah, you're
It
right.
would bother me.
Would it?
Yeah.
But you didn't watch it.
No, but like I've seen some of Hobo the Shotgun. Like I know what some of that is supposed to look like. The gross out gore horror movies
Yeah.
where you're like, you know that it's corny and that's why it's fun to watch it. I don't want to see that.
No. Okay.
No, I don't want to see someone's face melted off, even if
Right.
the effects are bad.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is probably one of the more, I don't know, maybe one of the more tasteful versions.
Yeah. Is Reservoir Dogs better than Pulp Fiction?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. But it is a very good watch.
Yeah. Which is your favorite of his movies? Django.
No, I think probably Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
I think I got to go with. Well, no. I think I got to go with Kill Bill.
What about Inglourious Bastards?
No,
No?
it's on there. Like
Yeah.
it's in the pantheon.
Right.
But I think for me it would go. Let's start with Kill Bill,
Mhm.
Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Inglourious Bastards, Django, and what was there after that? Hateful Eight's like
Hateful Eight.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Um,
Kill Bill 2.
Kill Bill 2 probably follows somewhere in the top 5.
Okay.
Um,
Jackie Brown we haven't seen.
Jackie Brown I haven't seen.
It's weird that you haven't seen
It's
it.
the one Quentin Tarantino movie I haven't seen.
Next time we do one of these podcasts, you can do that one.
I-
Although I haven't seen it either.
I think it's
Yeah.
still probably a fun watch.
We could both watch it.
Yeah, it can't be bad.
No, it can't be bad. But
Yeah.
it's based on a real person, right? Like it's a true story.
I'm not quite sure.
I don't know.
I don't know the history on that one.
I don't know either.
But it is apparently the most excusable Quentin Tarantino movie to have not seen. Although
Yeah.
Hateful Eight, I kind of feel is up there with it.
Yeah, bookending with not such good movies.
Yeah.
Do you remember last time we did a podcast we talked about his rumored Star Trek movie and you said, "No, that's got to be Dead in the Water."
Yeah.
He says it's done. It's written.
Oh, really?
It's ready to go. And it is R-rated.
And he wrote it?
Yep.
He wrote it and will direct it. Oh, man.
Well, I don't know if he'll direct it,
Right.
but he wrote the movie.
Didn't he say he was only going to do 10 movies and isn't...
I mean, I think maybe is this one of those things that Quentin Tarantino said once 20 years ago and we're still like hanging off of it?
Right. And I'm sure Quentin Tarantino has said some things that he doesn't even remember he said.
No, definitely gets coked out all the time.
Yeah.
Have you seen these movies?
I'm kind of surprised he's still alive.
Yeah. Interesting. Have you seen the cover shoot he did? I don't know if it's like GQ or Vanity Fair. It's him and Pitt and DiCaprio. And like the fact that like these are all the same species is remarkable.
Right.
But he doesn't look too bad. I got to assume he's like airbrushed like to the nines.
Sure.
But he looks weirdly good. So I don't know if it's like the other guys are bringing him up. You'd think that they'd bring him down because
Right.
they look so good.
Maybe he's just got his own vibe about him
Yeah,
at
he's
this
got
point.
like this sexy smolder thing going on, Quentin
Interesting.
Tarantino.
All right.
Yeah,
Doing his own thing.
right.
So do you give it your S?
Of course.
Well, you would tell people to watch this movie?
Of course. I think it's awesome. I
Excellent.
think it was unreal.
Excellent.
It was like nothing I've ever seen before.
I'm happy we both watched movies that we really liked.
Well, if we're
This
gonna
is kind of an interesting
if we're gonna do
take
this
for the
every now and
podcast.
then, we should only do movies that are widely adored
Yeah.
because those are the movies you want to see.
Mm-hmm. What was the first movie that I told you?
You asked me if I'd seen The Matrix.
Oh, yeah, and you were like, don't disrespect me. And I was like, okay, Pulp Fiction? You're like, okay.
No. I said, give me some credit,
Sure, right,
is what I said.
right.
And I've talked about The Matrix before on the show.
Yes.
I watched The Matrix like a month ago.
Oh, great.
Granted, for the first time in probably a decade.
Sure. Okay, well, what's another movie that we could, is there ones that come to mind for me? And
There are so many movies I know that I'm behind on having seen. I just have to look through the list, and I'll be able to pull out a bunch. I have to imagine you're the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Godfather Part
Yeah.
2,
Part 2, I haven't
obviously?
seen Part 2.
So maybe that's the one. we
Yeah,
do.
maybe it is. But that opens a whole other discussion about The Godfather writ large, about how like it's this whole other series, and I have to like rewatch the first one again, so that's fresh.
Yeah, well, maybe I do too. I mean, I've only seen Godfather Part 1 once or twice,
Okay. That's interesting because that's one of those movies that's supposed to be incredibly rewatchable.
but it's just such a you got to sit down.
It's
you
a
really got to
commitment.
sit. Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas Pulp Fiction, I didn't feel that way. There's so much going on.
It's long, but I wasn't ever bored.
No, there's so much changing. Maybe that's part of it too for me. Is like, and it's kind of the same. There's so many timelines to follow with When Harry Met Sally. It kind of threads these two things together.
It really chugs along when
Yeah.
Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
It's not a long movie either.
No.
But like it's always moving. And again, no fat on that movie.
No fat. You're not like, okay, I didn't like the part where there's so many, and there's, it's funny because I was kind of watching Happy Gilmore over the last night.
Watched it about a month ago.
Okay. They do a really good job of bringing in other characters.
Yeah.
Like the junior caddy to the homeless caddy.
Yep.
To Kevin Nealon
Kevin
on one of the
Nealon,
courses.
Tap it in.
Doing the bull dance.
Yeah.
Feeling the flow.
Yeah.
Working it.
Right.
Working it.
Oh yeah, no, Tap It In is Chubbs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it starts
Yeah.
with Chubbs.
No, Kevin Nealon is Send It Home.
That's right.
Just send
yeah.
it home.
That's where the ball lives. There's a lot of energy there.
That's
Send
your
the ball to
home.
its home.
Why won't you go home?
Yeah. And he starts just like, he's got a little tap in. He's going to win the tournament,
Yeah.
but he's still freaking out for 3 minutes.
Also, no fat on that movie.
There's no fat on that movie,
Yeah.
which is a funny thing to say about an Adam Sandler original.
Well, I think that's the thing, though. Adam Sandler did make a lot of really good movies.
Yeah.
I told you I watched the murder mystery one.
Yes, and you said it was pretty fun.
It's super watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't knock it.
Someone else watched it and said my mom watched it. And
Yeah.
She was like, and she's one to not like that many movies. Like she watched Wine Country and was like, oh, we were laughing really hard at that.
Wine Country's not great.
But she said we watched that murder mystery one and wasn't really feeling it.
I get it. Like, it's
Yeah.
not for everybody, but to me, it seems incredibly easy to watch as long as your expectations aren't too high.
Doesn't it kind of seem like if you liked Wine Country, you would at least kind of like murder mystery?
Maybe she just related to, like,
Older ladies
maybe it was that.
in Wine Country. Fair.
Maybe it was that.
Fair.
You know, the other thing I noticed about When Harry Met Sally, I've noticed it before, but it bothers me. When they're in the Sharper Image and they run into Harry's ex-wife and she's with Ira,
Yeah.
she's so cold to Harry.
Yeah,
And-
like she's making a point of coming up to him.
Yeah, she's like really smugly waltzing up to Harry.
Yeah.
And like giving him this pitiful look.
Yeah.
Like she really like got the best of him. She had an affair and cheated on him and broke his heart.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to win.
Yeah, it seems like she would be the one who would kind of be like, oh, let's not go over
He should be the one who should like want to win.
Yeah,
And he's all awkward about it.
right.
She looked
That's-
weird, didn't she? Oh, she was retaining water. I'm telling you, the woman saved everything.
Yeah, that was good. She must add salt. Did you say that?
I don't know. I've never seen her before.
yeah, exactly.
So, Willow Smith, that's the kid, right?
Yeah, that's one of the kids.
The daughter.
Yeah.
She said on her little chat show with Jada, that she is considering a polyamorous lifestyle.
All right.
Where
Now
could
we're
sh-
getting into it.
Now we're starting.
Where have we heard
Now,
that
125 episodes into this podcast, we're finally starting to see how our original reason for not totally being comfortable with Will and Jada is starting to have an influence on people around them.
before? Right. Which might not age well in the end, too. But
You mean like being intolerant of polyamory?
of polyamory.
I'm not intolerant of polyamory. I just don't understand it.
And don't necessarily trust it.
Well, I don't trust
Maybe
Will
we
Smith.
don't know enough.
I don't trust Will Smith. Here's the thing.
For reasons of potential
Here's what it is. If you want to live a polyamorous lifestyle and it's understood and you have
Scientology is another part of this, too.
But is that ever been confirmed? Or are they
No.
just friends with the Cruises?
I think that's it.
By the Cruises, I mean Tom Cruise. I mean one Tom
The Cruise
Cruise.
clan.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't trust. The thing is, if you have an agreed upon polyamorous arrangement within your relationship, that's one thing. But I don't trust Will Smith to follow the rules.
Fair. But, well, okay, so y'all
I
want to
don't
see
trust
him
Will
blue?
Smith. The theme is never trust Will Smith.
We're getting there. Never
Right.
trust Will Smith.
Never. Okay.
Or fucking Willow, for that matter.
I never trust the whip your hair thing was suspect from the beginning.
And where's she been since? Is she doing stuff?
She does a talk show with her mom.
That's it.
Never trust Willow Smith.
Never trust Willow Smith.